Hey there, welcome. Hope you're doing well. So I'm going to go over Babylon, why I believe is referring to Jerusalem, not Rome. So I thought a really good place to start was, first off, you go to the description below, there should be a Google Drive link to both the PDFs, so part 1 and part 2. So part 1, I have the link here, you just click, and these are interactive PDFs by the way. So you just click on this here, it'll open up the link. While this gentleman here, Andrew Perriman, I guess his name, so he had 20 reasons why he thinks Babylon the Great is Rome, not Jerusalem. So I encourage you to read through it, get familiar with the arguments, okay? And I'm going to point out to you why I think the opposite. No, it's actually Jerusalem. So something to keep in mind though, Revelation 13, there are two beasts. All right, so you have the beast from the sea. Just bear with me here. Hold on. Beast from the sea and beast from the earth. So these are two beasts. And my conclusion, the beast from the sea is the main beast, and the beast from the earth is secondary. And the word earth there should be land. The Greek word that's used throughout the book of Revelation, Gaia, which is really land, not earth. Unfortunately, they translate it as earth, get the idea of the whole planet Earth, and that's not what's in view here. It's really referring to the land, dear to Israel. It's written to the seven churches in Asia. These were, keep in mind, John was the apostle of Jews, not Gentiles. So we have to look at this from a Jewish perspective. And with the book of Revelation, he was so he's writing to Jewish Christians in the church, seven churches. He was not writing to Gentiles. All right, they would not have understood it anyway. So yeah, so let's see here. I have a picture. Yeah, so keep in mind, if you can treat this as foundational, it goes a long way. So Apostle Peter and Apostle John were both apostles to Jews, not Gentiles. Galatians chapter 2 verse 7, Paul very clear, Peter was apostle to the circumcision, which are Jews. And even though he did preach the gospel to the Cornelius household in Acts chapter 10, that was actually the official transition of the gospel from the Jews to Gentiles. That was a huge deal, that was major. But that did not change Peter's role as an apostle to the Jews. He was still an apostle to the Jews. He never an apostle to Gentiles. And Galatians chapter 2 was written after Acts 10 occurred. So keep that in mind. So if you treat this as foundational in all your studies, this will really help, I think. The moment you start deviating with any of these writers, going off to thinking they're writing to Gentiles, you are going off track. And it's very easy to do. So anyway, you'll have a link to this image in the description below. So yeah, I'll go back to this. So the beast from the sea, we have to look at, keep in mind, it's written to the seven churches in Asia. We don't look at it from where they're sitting at the time. We have to look at it from their perspective, what's the center of their world and their mind, their mindset. We have to get in that Jewish mindset. The Jewish mindset was the temple was the center of their world. So we have to look at this from a geographic standpoint, from the perspective of the temple. All right, you know, they're in a new covenant, they're in a new temple, built of living stone. They still have that mindset. So they look at things from the temple perspective. So the beast from the sea would have been Rome, okay, and the beast from the land was Jerusalem. All right, the secondary beast. All right. So hope that helps some. Alrighty. All right, so number one, the Jews who rejected Christ were in fact plundering. The Jews who were at the Masada, which they took over the Romans, were in fact plundering Jewish Christians. This suggests Jerusalem, person who rejected Christ and Christians, at the time of the picture here, during the first century, not Rome. Okay. Number two, this did not answer the question with Babylon. There was true Israel, and then there was Israel in the sense of the natural seed of Abraham. True Israel, where the Jews came to Christ. We go to Romans 9, 6 through 8. Okay, so keep that in perspective. It seemed like the author here was not keeping that in view here in his writing. So it seemed like anytime there's a judgment against an entity, he always just automatically assumed Rome, and he just that's why I share with you this here. Wait a minute, no, there's two entities that God was dealing with, judging. All right, so that's why I think he's missing. So number 3, this portion here, my rebuttal against that. Again, keep in mind there are two beasts. The argument brought forth in number 3 makes no mention of woman or harlot, nor who Babylon is. It's not adding any value to the discussion. There are two entities views of judgment here: Rome and Jerusalem. Those who rejected Christ, the author assuming since someone to be judged, it must be Rome. Just like what I said earlier. This is only half true. The foreign aggressor is judged. But the author made no attachment to woman or harlot and to who Babylon was. It should be past tense. Okay. Number 4, this had little to do to help find out who Babylon was. The Roman Empire fell in 476 CE. This had nothing to do with finding out who Babylon was. It has no value. Number 5, it's almost like he's just trying to come up a number 20 and just try to throw stuff in there. Okay, I got to 20 now. It's just not. Number 5, the Jewish people were in view here, not Gentiles. Some Jews were scattered. Stick of Joseph in 1 Peter 1:1. You click on here. Peter, an apostle of Jesus Christ. Keep in mind, Peter, an apostle to the Jews of Jesus Christ. He was never an apostle to the Gentiles. Matter of fact, let's go to Galatians. So Paul made it clear here. But on the contrary, seeing that I had been entrusted with the gospel, Paul, to the uncircumcised Gentiles, just as Peter had been to the circumcised. Okay? So, alrighty. Let's see here. While others were in Jerusalem in the temple, stick of Judah. Now you have stick of Joseph, stick of Judah. So if you read Ezekiel chapter 37, talk about stick of Joseph, stick of Judah, and eventually it became one stick. And that happened in the 1st century. Okay. These who were goats were destroyed. Sorry about the grammar. And those who were sheep met their gathering, where the two became one stick. The stick of Joseph were scattered amongst nations, covering every tongue. We read right in Acts 2:5. Now there were Jews, again, not Gentiles. Gentiles were not even a picture here at the time. All right? The Jewish people, the Gentiles were completely off their radar during this time. Devout men from every nation under heaven. So this was during the Pentecost. These are Jews from every nation under heaven, Paul described. And they're speaking all different tongues. And so when Revelation talks about every tribe and tongue, it's referring to Jewish people, not Gentiles. Again, John was the apostle to the Jews, not Gentiles. All right. So number 6, again, does not answer the question who or where the Babylon is referring to. Again, it's like he's just trying to throw stuff out there to try to get to number 20. Again, number 7, same problem. It's like he's just throwing stuff out there. Number 8, oikomene refers to the entire known world at time. So there would be a census that take place. I think there's one in 47 CE, 8047. And so the oikomene at that point, based on that latest census, all right? So there was a judgment that occurred throughout the Roman Empire. This, again, does not answer the question who or where the Babylon was referring to. Number 9, the man of lawlessness was Eleazar. I want to give much credit to Ed Stevens. He's the one that solved it. And he was the son of the high priest by the name of Ananias. Eleazar was the grandson of Judas Iscariot, the one who betrayed Jesus. So he had Judas Iscariot, and his son was Ananias, who's the high priest, and his son was Eleazar. He was the man of lawlessness, and described in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. So we have a timeline here, like where it pieces all this together. So the lawless one was revealed, Eleazar, as of August 14th, 8066. That's when the stick of Joseph, per 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, Church of Thessalonica was part of the stick of Joseph. The Jews came to Christ. The Jewish Christian in Church of Thessalonica, they were part of the stick of Joseph. Okay, so once it was revealed at the temple, word got out. Okay, right away, and that's when they knew it was time to leave for their gathering. Paul talked about their gathering and coming of Christ, and so that's when it was revealed that it was time to go. The sign in the sky occurred just 3 months prior. That was May 2nd of 86. Yeah, the sun made on the sky. So it's just shortly after that. And then they would have arrived in Petra on September 11th, 86. So anyway, so this is a fairly detailed timeline, but you have the stick of Joseph here, stick of Judah here, and they became one stick. Now there's a simplified version of this timeline right here. You can see here, stick of Joseph and stick of Judah, and they became one stick for exactly 1260 days per Revelation 12:6. So you have access to all that in this link right here, timeline link. Elder had control over the temple up until the time it was destroyed. Okay, so keep that in mind. Number 10, there was a festival among the tribes of Israel called Festival of Ecstaticry, where they were allowed to intermarry. The Jews who came to Christ would not participate in this. The Jews who rejected Christ must have participated, for they were eating their own children right before the temple was destroyed. The Jews who came to Christ, Jacob Judah, knew they were going to flee the temple right before it was destroyed. This happened on Thursday afternoon, April 10th, 8070, per my timeline. It took me a lot of hours to get the dates. Best way to describe it is like the game of Sudoku. You are constantly comparing everything. You start with the given, and you're just comparing. So I'm comparing book of Revelation, the book of Daniel, the writing Josephus, and some others too. And there's a date here, and then that creates an endpoint of a timeline segment here, like 1260 days, for example. And then it was just a lot of work. Took me a long time to be able to put together. Which, by the way, I guess I'm the first person in history to put together a timeline that is a working timeline to scale. Just this one right here, I showed you earlier, of the book of Revelation and book of Daniel, with the actual dates, with the 1335 day prophecy where it actually works. Nobody else has done that. So you might want to take advantage of it. So Revelation 14:6 had to do with the tribes of Israel who were scattered, stick of Joseph, not Rome and Gentiles. And here's a link where he was actually referencing, which seemed to suggest that the writer here, Barak, it seemed to be supporting Jerusalem here, even though the quote that the author of the book here saying, let me just go there for a second here. Which number are we on? Okay, number 10. Bear with me here, number 10. Okay. Oh, it's number 11, sorry. Okay, well, anyway, just reading his writing, for the former tribe, this was Jerusalem, okay. The tribes of Israel were forced by their king, they're also scattered throughout the Roman Empire too. The tribes of Israel were forced by their king to commit sin, but these two themselves have been forcing and compelling their king to commit sin. So this makes my point later on. This backs up what I'm saying, which suggests, oh boy, I'm getting lost. I'm losing my train of thought here. I'm going all over the place. Yeah. So, yeah, and notice here word kings here plural, okay? And this is where Barak, going by the quote that this gentleman gave, let's see here, Barak right here. It says right here, the king of Babylon. So this is singular, okay? Whereas Book of Revelation, it's plural. So anytime whoever, me or whoever, if my theology does not fit with the grammar of the text of Scripture, it's a sign that it's not the author's intent. So this ruled out the argument that's being made here by this gentleman, what's his name, the author, Andrew Perriman. Yeah, it doesn't matter who. When you're quoting somebody, you have to make sure that their quoting matches the grammar of the scripture that you're trying to prove. And it's so the fact that it's singular here versus plural, it does not fit the author's intent. So the king here is singular, that would be referring to Rome, but in the text, it says the kings of the earth, plural, which suggests Jerusalem and Israel, because they had multiple kings, multiple people overseeing it. So, who committed sexual immorality, and so forth. Again, that is proof it's Jerusalem. And so, without realizing it, the Barak is actually making the case that it's for Jerusalem without realizing it. The king to commit sin, the king to commit sin. Again, this is plural, okay, which matches the plural of, let's see here. Bear with me here. I am losing my train of thought. Okay, the plural here, okay, which so the fact that it matches suggests that it's Jerusalem, not Rome. Because again, Rome only had one singular king, whereas Jerusalem and Israel have multiple kings. Okay. Alrighty. So continue on. Number 11. The temple went up in smoke and was filled with gold. It is clear the passage, Revelation 18:9-10, again, plural form of kings, was referencing Jerusalem. Israel had multiple ruler kings who ruled various provinces in Israel. Rome only had one. Remember the harlot cried out, Jerusalem, we have no king but Caesar. That's singular. Okay, these are the ones that rejected Christ when Pilate asked him, is this your king? Okay, and so you were either loyal to Christ in those days or Caesar, one or the other. Okay, as far as the multiple kings, they were not loyal to them, and they're political. There's office politics in that. Okay, but you either worship Christ or Caesar. Okay, one of the two. This was spiritual fornication, reject their husband and Messiah. That's why they're referred to the harlot. The hour mentioned in Revelation 18:9-10 was the hour of their last feast of unleavened bread on Nisan 15, 80-70, or the evening of April 10th, 80-70, 6 p.m. So the Gregorian calendar doesn't start until midnight. The Hebraic calendar starts at 6 p.m. So it's been Nisan 15. So if you're looking at a calendar converter, you type in Nisan 15, it's going to give you April 11th. Okay, because it's 75% of the day of Nisan 15 is April 11th, and 1/4 of the day is from 6 to 12. Okay, so just in case you're wondering. The grammar of the text in Revelation goes against the quotation of Ezra and Barak. This suggests their interpretation not according to the author's intent, like I was saying earlier. Number 12, the author used outside paradigm of a fallible human being to interpret Revelation 18:21-24. The Bible is not meant to take outside paradigm and believe it to be true, and then bring it with you in the scripture. Because when you do that, if it's false, and you believe it to be true up here, what ends up happening, you end up, without realizing it, you're molding the scripture around that false idea, and don't even know you're doing that. Again, that's why hermeneutics is so important to the way to check. Is it fit the basic rules of grammar of scripture, the time indicator, audience relevance, grammar, setting, and so forth. I already said grammar. So this was a 5th century person who was predicting something to happen in their lifetime. This had nothing to do with the book of Revelation, which events would happen soon, surely, and quickly. Revelation 18:21 found no more with the fulfillment of Matthew 23:38, which was to happen within their generations. You add 40 years to 80:26 to 80:33, you get 80:66 to 80:73. So this was Daniel's 70th week right here. You add 40 to that, you end up there. So it had all been fulfilled by then. In 80:70, Jerusalem was left desolate. Rome had never been left desolate. Destructions have happened. There's been volcanic activity, but never left desolate like Jerusalem was. It was completely desolate. All right, so another hint why it had been Jerusalem, not Rome. And then, let's see here. Yeah, so I give you this passage here, which, let's see here. Yeah, so if you read his number 12, you'll see why, and it makes that connection clearly to Jerusalem. Jesus was standing in Jerusalem when he spoke Matthew 23:34 to 39. He was not standing in Rome when he said that. All right, he was not referring to Rome, he was referring to Jerusalem. All right, so that's the end of part 1. Go on to part 2. Bear with me here. Okay. Number 13. 1 Peter 5:13. Wow, this is a big one. Peter was not using metaphors nor apocalyptic literature in his epistle. He was literally in Babylon, but we have to figure out which one. There was a Babylon Egypt and a Babylon Iraq. It was most likely in Egypt. The geography was perfect for him to feed. John 21. Remember, he was told to feed the sheep. All right. It was a safe place for a family, unlike Rome, and the photography was perfect for the gathering. So when you look at the map, when you think of Joseph on their boats heading over for gathering after the laws were revealed, they left for the gathering, they would have gone to Peter, who would have been in Babylon and Egypt. And when you look at the map, all the water channels funneled to Babylon, which would have been perfect for them to leave quietly, be traveling through the night. The reason why they had to leave quietly, because they could not have the persecution follow them. That's why we know so little information about it. And so we don't have anything clear in writing. Hey, we took off to, this is what we did for our gathering. There's no writing. This is a time where knowledge seeds, as Paul put it, and they put all pen and paper down. They didn't have pen and paper back then, but papyrus, whatever, but you get the drift. All right. And so, Eusebius, he quoted Eusebius, is not a reliable source for historical material. Eusebius claimed Jews, for example, left the temple and fled to Pella. Okay, there is no scriptural support for this. The logistics make no sense. It would put them in continued danger with the Roman army. So you think this through. Eusebius is not there, but the writers who were there, not one single one of them wrote such a thing. So we have to be careful, because Eusebius was writing at a time where there's no separation of church versus state. And Constantine was emperor at the time, he even murdered members of his own family. Office politics could not have been very good for Eusebius. So I think he was pressured to do things against his own will. I really believe that. But yeah, he mentioned in 13 about Rome being split in 3. No, that was Jerusalem. Again, we're not talking far distant future events from book of Revelation written. This time of near, quickly, shortly take place. Okay, so read that right in Word 5:1:1. Joseph was there. When therefore Titus had marched over that desert which lies between Egypt and Syria, in the manner aforementioned, he came to Caesarea, having resolved to set his force in order at that place before he began the war. Nay, indeed, while he was sitting father Alexander and settling that government which now newly conferred upon by God, secession of Jerusalem has arrived and parted into 3 factions. All right, split into 3. All right, And so, so you see the fulfillment. It's Jerusalem, not Rome. Okay. All right. So, Book of Revelation written for number 14. Book of Revelation written to the Jews, King of Christ, and the Seven Church of Asia Minor, stick of Joseph, not written to the stick of Judah and Jerusalem. Okay. He's reading as if it's written to the people in Jerusalem, and no. They would definitely be able to see the Jews deny Christ in the flesh at the Babylon harlot, or great city where the Lord crucified. Okay, so so they so they lived in Jerusalem that he's quoting, and the Book of Revelation was not written to them; it was written to the seven churches of Asia. And then, and that Bible lie in the street of the great city, Babylon, which mystically is called Sodom and Egypt, where also their Lord was crucified. Okay, so Babylon referred to the great city, all right, and where our Lord is crucified. All right, so again, that's Jerusalem, not Rome. All right. The Jews, number 15, the Jews in Jerusalem who rejected Christ committed spiritual fornication and acted as a harlot. Rome was never the wife of Christ, only Jerusalem. How can Rome commit spiritual fornication if Rome was never married to Christ in the first place? It's Jerusalem. All right. Number 16, city of seven hills with seven heads is Rome, but the woman sits on the city of seven hills. That woman cannot sit on herself, which suggests a woman cannot be Rome, the harlot. Jerusalem was sitting in Rome to go after Christians, just like it did with Christ's crucifixion. Again, Babylon had been Jerusalem, not Rome. Number 17, again, plural is used here, not singular. Jerusalem had many kings of the earth. Rome only one. So kings, Jerusalem, Israel, here 10 of them, and which are the 10 horns. The Greek word being translated earth here should be land, by the way. All right. I think I went over that earlier. Number 18, Revelation 53, the king in view here is Jesus, not Caesar. The seventh bowl of Jerusalem was split into three parts, not Rome. I already gave you the proof text. So this actually belongs down here. I'll be moving that, fixing that. This link here. I showed you earlier. Number 19, Jerusalem, Jews rejected Christ in the flesh, Babylon. Now you had the Jerusalem above, which is the mother of us all, Galatians 4:26, and the Jerusalem that's still on earth, which was during bondage, per Galatians chapter 4. With the one with Rome to go after Christian Jews at the time. Jerusalem was the Babylon. So they were working together to go after the Jewish Christians at the time. So God was dealing both beasts. Right? Number 20, 10 horns were the 10 kings mentioned above. The beast was Rome, the main one, who together hated Jerusalem. Jews who denied Christ in the flesh. John described them as a synagogue of Satan, Revelation 2:9 and 3:9. And they were described as very wicked. And some other things, too, that also suggest that he doesn't mention. He conveniently left out. Revelation 17:4, women clothed in purple, suggests Jerusalem. You go back to Exodus, and there are many. Just look up purple in the Concord, and they just pop up all over, okay? And then, 17:5, the very next verse. On her forehead, a name was written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, mother of harlots, and an abomination of the earth. Or land. All right, so just heavily adjust Jerusalem. So, those are my thoughts. What I was saying earlier about their gathering, let's just go to Fourth of Babylon. So this is the Babylon that I believe Peter was referring to. And when you look at the waterways, so that the stick of Joseph, when they came down, you got the stick of Joseph's seven churches in Asia, and then you also had the 5 churches that Peter wrote to. So you have 12 churches here. And they would have gone down after the law was revealed, gone down to meet Peter for their gathering. Okay, it would have gone through these water channels and all funneled to Fortress of Babylon. All right, so logistics were already taken care of. So this heavily suggests this is the Babylon that Peter was talking about. It's safe. They spoke his language. Rome did not even speak the language of Peter. They spoke Aramaic, which is the language of Peter. And he would have escorted them to Petra. It's right here. Okay. And Revelation 12 talk about how the earth split. Right there is where I believe the earth split. All right. Where Eusebius claimed, oh no, it was Pella. Well, you don't see the earth split Pella. All right. So, and again, the logistics makes no sense. It's been more difficult for Peter to feed them. You got the Roman army. So they're going from one problem to another, going from here, get murdered, to over here, get murdered. It makes no sense. So that I put that in the category of disinformation by Eusebius, not misinformation. It was deliberate disinformation. What the story behind that is, I don't know. I think Emperor Constantine has something to do with it. That's something to look into. So anyway, yeah. So those are my thoughts. Why I believe Babylon was Jerusalem, not Rome. Alrighty. Hope you find this helpful. And again, just you have access to the material in the description below. I'll get this fixed. Anyway, hope you continue to enjoy your studies. It's at the end of the day, I'm a little tired. So anyway, thank you very much, and have a great rest of the day.